Episode 115, Joel Fleischman Happy Hour podcast. We have merchant Adam Beck with us today. Adam, thanks for joining.
Perfect. Good to be here, Marcus.
Yeah, man. So I guess starting off, I started about 3.5 years ago. You were right behind me. You've been here a little over 3 years. What's it been like being at Drexel?
It's been fantastic for me. I really only ever had two careers, one in manufacturing before I came here. It's been a great transition. You were actually the first face that I seen when I walked in the door.
Really?
As you had the front cube, and you and I were, comrades there for
kind of like desk mates, yeah.
Yeah, that was, and you, shout out to you. You kind of really are a good image of what Drexel is, just your personality, Marcus, and it's been great.
Well, I appreciate that. I'll make sure to give you $10 after we get off here. So,
sweet.
So what were you doing? You mentioned manufacturing. What were you doing specifically in manufacturing? Were you buying there, or what was kind of the deal?
At the end, yes, I was. We were in steel manufacturing, but small machine shop, anywhere from scheduling to troubleshooting to, managing, supervising, hiring, firing.
A little bit of everything.
Yeah, probably what a small business does, and you can fall into a position where you try to do a lot of things.
Right. So what brought you to Drexel? What was kind of that change? Obviously, your brother Eric has been here since the inception, basically.
Sure.
So what was kind of the jump to Drexel?
Well, actually, I was let go from that organization. It was transition in ownership, and I just really kind of got myself wedged between two families that were going different directions than what that my time had expired there. So it was a great career for a long time, and it was time for me to move on at the end. And as being local, watching Drexel grow throughout the years has always been fascinating from the outside looking in. And secondly, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know how I could help. I didn't know where I would fit in a team, but going to some of the things that we've laid out, and I think where my personality is and what I like to do and where I'm good at, I feel like I'm in a really good spot. So I really appreciate the team and the opportunity. And
you also do some farming on the side, correct?
Yep. We have a small dairy farm, so that keeps us busy.
I bet. How many cows you got?
Just under 45.
Okay.
So it's a day.
Yeah, and then the kids and family, it makes up for a full day then.
You bet.
Awesome. Well, appreciate you sitting down on the screen here. I don't know if you guys can see it watching this, but you had a communities post recently talking about some of the purchases that you made as a merchant here at Drexel, and you guys recently relocated offices where you guys have now moved over to the South Building in Camelsport, kind of made that place your own there. Can you guys just kind of talk about like a day-to-day of what's going on in the merchant world? Obviously that team has kind of grown quite a bit recently here, and just kind of talk about what's all going on in your day-to-day and how that kind of looks like through a week.
Yeah, it's been a transition from teammates to location to task. Talking about change as a core value and just embracing it. It's been a lot. It maybe hasn't even fully come to surface yet, I think, is what I'd like to tell the team. Like, the gears are going in the right direction, but you may have not seen the evidence of that quite yet. But first of all, we'll start with the building. I mean, the team that did the South Building, they did a great job. We were kind of all, curious how that was going to turn out when they started, but it's been a great home for our team. Secondly, a lot of changes to our team, always new teammates coming in, bringing ideas and value. And, our biggest mission is really to support the local builder, and to do that, we really need to consolidate our buying power. And we do have buying power, which, we promote and talk about, but we have to engage it and actually put it to work.
For sure. And kudos, you just give a shout out, kind of John Gitter, Mike Nolan, everybody that was involved over there. I mean, it is a really nice job of what they did in the South Building. I guess on like a day-to-day basis, I know obviously you're on the phone a lot, making a lot of calls and things like that. Is your day-to-day very similar? Is the week-to-week similar, or is it just kind of dependent on the month-to-month and what you need and all that?
Well, we've really part of the change, outside of the teammates and the building would be just kind of our roles in the last year. And just with bringing in development, getting to talk to the quarterbacks and the sales team on a monthly basis and extend that to the entire team through different tacticals, etc. Our job is to research and source the best products. Our job is to train on behalf of that, right? And our job is to set the price. And that's, we do that on big categories, and we're talking multi-million-dollar categories for our builders, but to perform those three tasks really simplifies it, right? So that's been good.
Yeah, I guess how does somebody bring forward, you're talking about the research and setting the price and all that. I mean, how do you get into a conversation where you're like, okay, depending on the role, and obviously I know you guys all have specific kind of categories that you're looking at, how does somebody bring forward like, hey, we need a change here, and now we need to go and kind of vet a process to figure out what else we're going to bring in because, this vendor isn't working for us anymore. How does that all kind of come about? Does that from Joel or from the team or kind of various different groups of people?
Well, I think that's the power of Drexel and the tacticals, right? It really can come from anywhere, right? And it's got to be vetted,
sure.
Right? So on behalf of our sales team, they have sales coach, market leaders, they talk to their builders. Someone has a new product or something they think that's going to fit, is it something that we can use our buying power, and our mass builders will, latch on to that idea, right? To be honest, Joel is a very good merchant and he gets a lot of things started in the right direction. I think he was the one that set the pace for our team, and our team is catching on and learning. You can see that through evidence. I'll be honest, Blue Board, he was the one to really kind of see a niche for that product, take a shot, let's do this. It was a good learning example for me to kind of follow behind that. We were down at the BCMC in Ohio and having some cocktails with the team and going out and having, doing our diligence, but, it was a kind of a bonding moment, right? And we were on our way home in the car, and it's a long drive, and I was just kind of catching up on a little sleep, and he's asking me all these questions and doing all this legwork, making phone calls, and I'm like, I'm gonna get that done next week, and we did, but like that's just the drive that he has, and he pushed us to get it going, and to follow that up with some of the exterior products that our team is now going to be able to bring in. We're really gonna. It's the way to go to win in the marketplace and help the builder, and not our competition truly doesn't believe in that.
Right.
I really understand that. I mean, when we talk to manufacturers and distributors in this industry, most people are out there for the sale, the next sale, and they really don't, I think, have the passion that we do to get it to the job site.
Sure. Is there also a thing there where they struggle maybe long-term, like looking 5-10 years down the road, where we're always obviously trying to make things better right away, but also planning for the future, where some of them are maybe a little bit short-sighted, like I'm just worried about today's job and not really 10 years down the road kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak on their behalf, but I would feel that way. And, we're in a mission of, we want our builders to love us. Like, when you get those, we see those Paylocity posts from any team member, whether it's a driver or a quarterback, when we're the first referral and they don't, they just trust us, right? It's a lot about trust, and it's about providing a good service, and our team top to bottom does that.
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking of communities, you had this post on there about a week and a half ago, and like I said, if you can't see it, it just says summary of recent purchases, number of carloads headed our way. And basically what it's broke down with is 47 for lumber, 26 OSB, zip, and Blue Board, like Adam was just talking about, which I actually, ironically, drove by a couple duplexes that I believe were ours off of 151 in Fond du Lac, and the Blue Board does just pop differently than anywhere else. It is a sight to see. 3 LSL, 2 rim, 1 plywood, and 8 LVL cars. So again, you were kind of talking about the buying power and things like that. Can you talk about, let's just talk lumber for example here. How has that changed since you had originally started here at Drexel from a lumber standpoint? Is the purchasing still kind of the same, or obviously I know quantities are kind of going up where we're maybe not doing as many buys, but how has that kind of changed since you've been here from a lumber standpoint?
Yeah, so a couple things just to put that into perspective. That's probably just shy of like a $7 million purchase.
Just the lumber?
No,
or all together?
That package.
Sure.
At a quick glance. Yeah, I'm guessing that's to be about $6 or $7 million. That was probably executed in less than a week. I think the team that worked on this stuff ahead of me, deserves a lot of credit. I don't recall the latest number, but we know that we are a national player and we are in the top X amount of LBM dealers, right? So we are recognized by the industry and who we work with. So being the face of that is, we want to represent it well. We don't want to be tied to our competition. We want to have a different angle. Some people understand that and we work well. Some we work on to understand it. Some plainly don't care. But I don't think the philosophy is changed. I've learned a lot from Albert and Eric and Paul and people that have done this ahead of us. And, I think the philosophies that when Albert started the company in 1985 and got to a position where he was purchasing direct from manufacturers is pretty much the same philosophy that I deal with.
Sure.
I talk to him a couple times a week as need be to bounce ideas off certain things.
What's the best thing he's ever told you?
Well,
I know we could be here for a while on that, but
so I don't know. I guess this will be the last time I really ever want to tell this story. But so my actual first, have you heard my actual first connection to Drexel?
I don't think so.
So 16-year-old in high school, Saturdays, Albert and friends of mine, Jason Strobel, a few guys local here, they were coming up here on Saturdays to work because they ripped out the railroad and Albert bought all the railroad ties. And he, true merchant, see an opportunity, buy something cheap, see a demand for it, sell it, right? So I got somehow asked to come help one day, and the gas station was still open over here by the yard, and I'd be out there stacking these ties, and those clowns are always in the gas station getting Mountain Dew and candy and doing God knows what. Come in for a Saturday.
Jason Strobel specifically.
100%.
Sure.
So, we'd get a couple loads done. Granted, this one winter was still winter. It'd be cold, icy, sleet, wet. And all of a sudden a couple Saturdays go by and they're trying to get this done and they don't show up. And it started with 4 guys, down to 3 guys. And then finally, I don't know how it came up, but I'm like, pay me piece rate. Don't pay me by the hour. I want this amount and I'll just do it myself. And we had an old case forklift with pneumatic tires, and they were bald as hell, and just hit the throttle and go. And I'd be throwing these things in a rack. And as a 17-year-old kid, I was making pretty good money on a Saturday. And I was getting down to the end. I mean, the pile was humongous. I maybe had like 2 Saturdays left. And I'm out there one day. It was like March, and just about getting ready to wrap this stuff up. And all of a sudden, I see this guy walking across the parking lot. And he's carrying something in his hand. I wasn't quite sure what it was, but sure enough, it was Albert. And he comes over to me, and he says, AB, you're almost done. You're getting pretty good. Wrapping up the pile, this and that. And I said, no, thank you, sir. He's like, yeah, my son Joel, he did some calculations. He butts up on the formula here. We're going to have to deduct the 2 cents for the banding because he didn't deduct the cost of the banding in this operation. So I'm like, really? So instead of getting paid X amount per tie, I was deducted 2 cents for reasons unknown to me. But what was I going to say to him, So I just looked at him like, all right.
Hey, you're 16, right?
Yeah, so I'm like, what the hell is that all about? So anyways, went back to work, finished up, kind of carried that as a little bit of a burden, didn't think that was right. Yeah, that's right. And then, so over the years, I would see Albert, as I grew up at weddings, family, friends, and as many know, my oldest sister graduated with Joel, so we know the same people, and we'd be at a wedding, and Albert would be at the bar, and I'd always remind him, I said, remember that time you deducted those 2 cents? You're going to buy me an old-fashioned. Well, probably about the 4th or 5th wedding and the 10th old-fashioned, he's like, don't ever come over here again. So that's the end of the story. But I like telling that story.
I've not heard that, honest to God.
It's but it's been good. So coming here, working with him, it's been great. The strategy really hasn't changed. I think, to answer your question, Marcus, the strategy is now applied to more than just lumber. That's where Drexel's going, right? And not working on the sales team or talking to builders and seeing how things go, but through the craziness of when I started in the pandemic and global supply challenges, we really want to lead with the best products and not just be order takers, right? We don't want to have a menu of everything. We want to have a menu of the right things.
Right, which goes back to training and understanding your product and everything. So how many times a year, obviously you said 6 to 7 million here between these, 6 different purchases. How many times a year is that happening roughly?
So there's a total, I think this round was about 80 cars.
Okay.
If you total that up, it should be somewhere around 80 cars. That was executed, like I said, in 7 days.
Yep.
Year to date, and we got a ways to go. This team has been kicking ass all year long. I can't say enough about our team, from our sales staff to our operational teams, everybody that handles this product. We're up over 600 cars year to date.
Okay.
You figure that by working days, and it's growing significantly. We've made some dedicated adjustments to how we price things and help our builders. I believe that's part of it. I believe part of it is who we are. I thought this year, I'm very happy with what we were able to accomplish in 2024, and I'm looking forward to the years ahead. And it may get more challenging, just with impacts that are, global impacts throughout the world. But so this year specifically, I think we will cross the threshold of 700 rail cars year to date. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Shout out to Wrightstown Truss, Amherst Wall, all the people in the plants. They've been pumping out orders all year long, keeping those plants building. We really see some follow through with the investments in manufacturing, that the demand is there, and that's going to be a strong thing to come. So
can you talk on the growth, obviously in terms of, you're talking about 700 rail cars throughout the year, pretty crazy. How has, obviously everything coming together, now you have Tim Peck with the inventory team, how does that all kind of run together? Obviously you guys are working on the same building, doing the buying portion here, Tim's kind of running inventory. How has that evolved? I mean, obviously still a process as we look to transition into Kewaskum and all that as well too, but how do you think that's kind of evolved from a buying standpoint to now even trying to understand and track inventory better?
Well, I think there's a lot of opportunity there. I can honestly tell you, Marcus, in the last 30 days, our team has really had to put an immense amount of focus on all the buying, right? Because although we're sitting here and talking about our buying power, right, because this team is doing so well, we are still finding ourselves being short. And
Sure.
that's the last thing we want to do, right? We don't want to make it hard for our team. Most importantly, we don't want to disappoint a builder. We don't want to delay a project. And we don't want to make our team work harder than they have to. But those are things we just have to walk through. Andy Rettler is currently down with us, helping us bridge some of these gaps. I've been really kind of voicing to our merchant team and inventory team that distribution needs to grow. If we need some tools to help us, but we need to do some basic things correctly. And I think they've done a good job. I think I work pretty closely with Alex Bailey in that regards, and talk through not only what the purchasing strategies, but ultimately to get it to the yards. And our team has seen that. I mean, our yards and how they're used to seeing product in their yard has changed. And I'll be the first one to admit we didn't nail it perfectly in 2024. But I do want to nail it perfectly in 2025, and I hope the team does as well. And I think really get to the model where we're on time and full, and yet we're not tripping over mounds of product. And I guess
having that balance kind of.
Yeah, and Marcus, even to take a step back, I can't even believe I overlooked this, but the biggest overlooked thing this year is with the development days of the quarterbacks is we've really opened up our catalog. A lot of our team, and it's no fault to anybody, they just didn't know what they could get from where. And we are seeing that start to come to surface now by the use of training and being able to say, oh, we have that, we can sell it,
right?
And we really want to push as many of our stock programs as we can, because that's where we get our buying consolidation.
Yeah. You had just touched on previously about, you don't know what the future holds, right? And nobody does.
Oh, you can't say that, Marcus, because I got a friend that said that once, and we never let him. He didn't come on vacation with us because he said that.
Yeah.
I think Sizer knows what I'm talking about.
But, COVID, you mentioned that as well, right? Kind of going through that and the lead times and everything. Do you think coming into this shortly after COVID, obviously all the lead times were crazy, do you think that was an advantage in some ways where you saw things at its craziest? So that moving forward, not to say it would never go that way or you wouldn't have hiccups and challenges, to buy things, but having to go through that and understanding lead times and being proactive and trying to work your magic, is that something that almost in some ways is much of a struggle maybe it was walking into that is a good thing? Or do you think that that's just kind of just an experience and it is what it is kind of thing?
I think the biggest advantage I had coming in, I guess, is coming from manufacturing, is working with, I spent some time in Amherst up front and learning as we transitioned from Little Chute to Wrightstown. It was pretty easy for me to understand what they were trying to accomplish and how those operations worked and what they needed from our team. At the time, Blinker transition was only 2 years in, and right, wrong, or otherwise. I mean, when we acquired them and kept going, which was great, I think we maybe didn't push the spruce and operational sides of things as much, so bridging that gap.
Sure.
Because we're here working off of this, and you guys are seeing
on my
that
tech stuff. There you go.
But no, taking out some of these categories, we used to have 3 people doing. That used to be 2 or 3 people,
okay.
And then we had someone else pricing it. So I've had to let things go to observe, and as your categories change or your philosophy changes, you got to start from ground zero. And I think that kind of goes back to Albert and a strategy. Like, the best thing you can do in this role is just ask a lot of questions, and you're just trying to sift out the truth.
Right.
Right? You're really just trying to sift out the truth and be like, is this what my builders need, and can we win for them and make some maybe a little bit of profit in the process?
Yeah, which is a good philosophy in life just in general, right? Ask a lot of questions, figure out what's the truth.
Yeah, I don't know how good I am at life, but I feel pretty good about what I do at my job.
I'm also supposed to ask you, when does the milk check come? What day of the month is that? Or is that not something we can talk about here?
Yeah, so that was a team member experience as well. My neighbor used to work in the finance department here, and it was the only bill that I had to pay prior to the 31st. But it was the same day the milk check came, so I never had the money and the funds to pay for the lumber or whatever project I was doing. So I always had to write a little note on there when I sent my check in, like, hey, just so you know. So that was a little fun we had. But
nice. I guess to wrap up, we always do the billboard. You got one billboard on Highway 41. Everybody in the world can see it. What would your billboard say and why?
Yeah, so this is my 3rd one. I think I failed this every time. And I probably knew it was coming, didn't even think about it. But, I guess one thing I always sign off with my emails, whether I'm negotiating or have an issue, or even if I'm not in a good mood, I always kind of sign off with enjoy the day, right? Just enjoy the day. Whether you like what I said in the 2 paragraphs further, just you interpret that how you need to interpret that.
Sure.
So that's what it would be.
Yeah. Well, Adam, 115, appreciate you coming on, and I'm sure we'll have you back sometime soon.
All right. Thanks, Marcus.
All right. Thanks.